Rogue Radio. Now available on Mixcloud at mixcloud.com/Rogue Country. Keep it rogue.
So please go check out Rogue Radio over on mixcloud.com/Rogue Country. I've been doing some guest DJ spots over there the last couple of weeks. I've been having an absolute blast doing it. If you like this podcast, if you like this type of music, if you like country, if you like blues, and you want to hear new artists you haven't heard yet, head over to that station. I'm really proud of the things we're doing over there. Yeah, how you guys doing? I hope you're having a lovely day. I've been having a blast, and I hope you are too. The weather's been nice over here. We've been going on walks, we've been doing nice things, and I hope you are as well. Yeah, it's all about that, isn't it? It's about doing what you care about and doing what you love with who you love, which is always a nice thing. Today we are, of course, brought to you by The Next Life. That is my album. I'm going to drop in a little teaser for you now.
As the fire dies and we say our goodbyes, I hear the ghost of me say, all the battles we lost and the wars that we won go on to define us someday. We'll let the summer pass and move on at last to the seasons that make us age. But at least I will know that the older we grow, in the chapter we share the same page.
And I hope you dig it. I'm super proud of this record. It makes me, it gave me a purpose. Throughout lockdown, it gave me a purpose as a musician to bring an album out that I feel encapsulates where I was at that point and where I am now. And yeah, check it out. It's over on mike333west.com. You can grab a copy if you'd like. If you want a free digital download, hit me up. But we're not here to talk about me. I'm here to talk to other people. I've been having such a blast doing Into the Van, and one of the reasons I'm having such a blast is I get to talk to people like James Reed. James Reed is a fucking phenomenal artist that I first found. I can't remember who shared a video of his, but it was him playing Goodbye Mama on like a porch, and the groove and the lyrics were just phenomenal, and he's just one of those artists that you can't help but be enthralled by. And I've wanted to talk to him on the podcast for ages. We finally got it to happen, and I can't wait to see what this guy does next, because he is a true talent. His album, The Future Ain't What It Used to Be, is out right now on Green River Records. You can listen to it on Spotify and things. We get into the recording process of it, the writing process of it, who his influences are, and it's just a phenomenal chat, guys, so I don't want to keep you too long. So without further ado, this is Into the Van, episode 33, with Mike West and James Reed. Let's do it. Welcome to Into the Van with me, Mike West.
All right, brother. Thank you.
But cool. So we're rolling, and I've been really excited to talk to you, but I'm also dreading it because I've only just got Goodbye Mama out my head, which has been stuck in my head since like September of last year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. It's just been like your style and your sound. It just has this groove to it that I've hardly heard on anything else really. It's got that kind of like Delta blues, Sunhouse rhythm to it, but it's just an evolution. What were your early
Thank you so much. The Delta blues, the country blues, that's a huge I just have that in my bones, But the early influences would be kind of like a lot of people with classic country, like Hank Sr., Merle Haggard, and Waylon Jennings, the kind of cliches these days, But that I was definitely both sides of my family. I was talking to my buddy Lance last night. We was having some beers, and we just talking about how early classic country has been embedded in me since the beginning of time. Like when I was a young tot, you know. So that was always in my blood. And then I like a little bit of everything, but yeah, I got really big into the blues, and then I started learning like Townes Van Zandt and Blaze Foley and like Steve Earle and Justin Townes Earle, Guy Clark, just a whole nother level of the stuff, you know, in my opinion, like that songwriting. And then of course you could probably hear Justin Townes Earle, but he kind of did the same thing I did. Went back and really studied the country blues, you know, and the style picking. You got to love it, you know. It's not everybody's cup of tea around here, but yeah, I've kind of just meshed all that together. It's the classic country with the bluesy type stuff.
And what was kind of, do you remember when you first picked up a guitar? What was like, I want to be, you know, so-and-so? Or when did you actually start picking up a guitar and start writing your own stuff?
Well, it's funny. The guitar is different from the songwriting. Like I remember writing songs in my head ever since I was like 6. You know, I've always had those words playing in my head, and I was always hanging on. Had a pretty good internal rhyme. You know, just hear something and just automatically rhyme something with it. You know, so I've had that pretty much my whole life. And I remember like writing, like making a fake guitar when I was like 6 or 7 out of cardboard. You know, and I'm actually writing a song about that. But yeah, I didn't really pick up the guitar until I was like 19. So I think I got my first one at like 16, and then pawning it to go like play pool. And like I never took it serious. And I think it was like 19 or 20 is when I really, you know, sat down and learned the G, C, and D and old like gospel songs and stuff. So yeah, so it's I was kind of a late bloomer, but I always knew that I like to play with words, and you know, I'm all about songwriting.
And like I was reading the Hillbilly Hippie review, they did an artist spotlight on you, and they talked about how you kind of commiserated over you kind of commiserated over the notion that you were tormented by words. Like, what does that kind of mean to you, and where do you find yourself, like, you know, trying to struggle, like not necessarily trying to struggle, but when you have these words and things, what is that's going through your mind that kind of you're trying to fit this all together?
Okay, that's a good question. You know, I've tried to be like a normal and try to ignore the words in my head, and it's always torturing me. But it's even more torture when you try to ignore it. So it's like it's a battle. But yeah, I finally embraced it the last year or so, you know, and I'm getting good at it. I'm getting good at learning what to do with it. So it's not as much torture as it used to be. But there for a while, you know, it's just you have to go sometimes you have to go in a dark place to really find what you're trying to say, you know. So yeah, it's a double-edged sword, and sometimes I wish I could be normal and not have, like, you know, hang on to everybody's word and be so sensitive to every, like, you know, thing around me. But yeah, I think it's a beautiful curse, you know. There's beauty, but it's definitely still torturous sometimes if you're really trying to take the song serious. I think it's some of the most torturous feelings, but then once you create something, it's the most beautiful thing, you know.
Yeah, I know, like sometimes I get caught up in like something happens where I feel like sad or, you know, emotive or anything, and I automatically start trying to piece together like lyrics or like a phrase that kind of like, and I don't know if it's my subconscious trying to make sense of it, and the only way it kind of makes sense is to try and write it down in a lyric. So then I have to like kind of be like, no, I just need to feel sad for a bit, but it's still like you'll still try and get a couplet or something out of it. And it is an interesting thing when you have like those feelings and those words always floating around to then try and put them down and use them in a cathartic way. Right.
Yeah, I'm the same way. We're brothers in that sense. We're songwriters and we're both musicians. But yeah, it took for years. Like I was kind of confused about. I didn't know how to actually manipulate it to my, you know, to make art. So I always held on to those words, like you're talking about, feeling a certain type of way, but never could. But I actually had to quit my job. I had a little bit of money saved up. I actually had to quit my job to really hone in on it and really figure it out. I just never gave it that time, and it was torture. That was a torture in itself. But yeah, I'm getting, you know, I'll keep little words written down, or I'm sure like a lot of people do that, or just in your head, and it just usually takes that one line of an inspiration for something to get the ball rolling, you know.
And like you're saying, you quit your job to pursue this more. When was like the deciding factor? That when was it like it clicked and you were like, I just have to focus on this? Was it like you were starting to get you know, more gigs, or was it just I need to focus on the songwriting and that will lead to those shows?
Right. That's a good question. I think some people I praise those people that can like go to work and then get off of work and really work on their art, that that's just not me, I'm not that tough, I guess. I'm not that responsible. But I've been doing gigs for like 4 and 5 years on and off. And I remember opening for like Billy Don Burns and Josh Morningstar. They're pretty big names around here. They're some of my heroes. And that was like 3 years ago, I think. And it was like one of the most awful sets I've ever had in my life. I embarrassed myself. I was working and I just didn't get time. So I've tried to get out there, and then I would get discouraged. And putting yourself out there and being vulnerable, that was something that I had to get really used to. I wasn't good at that. So, but yeah, I've tried like the last 4 or 5 years. So I think a lot of people kind of see me in the background, but I really wasn't making a lot of noise. But this past year, like right before the pandemic hit, that was crazy in itself. I really was like, something clicked in me. Actually, I did, like you speaking of like psilocybin and mushrooms, me and my buddy, we did a little bit one day, and I just woke up that next day and I felt refreshing. I was like, I couldn't, you got to be careful when you fool with those things, because you'll get the truth hand it to you right away, sometimes. And you got to be ready for that. And I don't know if I was or not, but I knew. I was telling my buddy, we kind of started like a little business together, like side jobs and stuff. And I went in one day to him and I was like, dude, I got to quit my job and I'm going to go try to do music. And he was like, are you crazy? You're fucking crazy. And I was like, no, man, I just, I'm listening to my body. I can't even fake this anymore. So yeah, it was like a little bit over a year ago, I think maybe last February, or maybe about a year today. I quit and I just went into writing, and like I just really, and I started, just finding the more you do something, the better you get at it, So, but yeah, they say it, overnight success, it usually takes like 10 or 15 years. I've been really trying for about the last 5 years, but this past year, I really just was like, no offense to nobody, but I'm doing this for me. Like, I'm not looking for anybody's validation. That's why I was, a lot of years I was trying to write songs to appease people and like think about if they would like that or not. You just can't do that with art. You kind of have to be like a rebel in a way, just got to kind of get out there and just kick ass and, not take no names.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say in that same like Hillbilly article, there's a quote where it says, woke up last year cursed with an artistic integrity you hadn't known before. Is that kind of?
Oh yeah. Okay. I know the art. I know that what you're talking about now. I couldn't place what you was talking about, but yeah, I did read that. Yeah. That was kind of my own words. I kind of put that. I think that was on my. I think I put that on my music page. But yeah, and I kind of stole that from Guy Clark. He said he's like I heard him say something about a growing artistic integrity, and I understood that. I didn't understand that before, but then one day when you understand that, then you know exactly what he's talking about. Like the shit ain't going away, and then so it's like I'm gonna actually give it some time and really try to work on it.
Yeah, man, I think it's really important when that clicks in for people. Like I know, I've like when I first started out, it was, the cover bands, the tribute bands, they're the big acts. They always bring the money in and stuff. And when you get booked for a gig, especially if you've got an acoustic guitar, people are demanding that you play X, Y, or Z. And obviously I'm around Liverpool way, so the amount of Beatles requests I got and shit. And it's got to the point where I was like, I haven't learned these out of spite. I'm never going to learn these fucking songs because I'm playing my shit. And it was when it was kind of like, because I'd done gigs where I'd pandered and I'd played like a Lumineers song. And I like the Lumineers, but I don't want to play them. Like, I don't play other.
I love the Lumineers here, but I don't want to.
And it's when you start realizing that and you're like, well, no, I'm not going to do that. And I'm not going to gig there. I'm not going to play that type of stuff. You start to solidify your own artistic voice and you feel more confident. Like it may bite you in the ass at some point, but you can live with yourself and you're a lot better and a lot quicker when you do that.
Right. And then you'll find the people that'll keep you going, like that love that, they want to hear your originals, and those people are God sent, Yeah, I've had that same dealings. Even when I play covers, they're obscure and nobody really knows them. So, I canceled a gig because I turned down a gig not too long ago. Actually, we took it and they asked to make sure I play covers that people know, and it pissed me off. It's just like, I don't want to be told what to play. Yeah. And so I told my buddy, I brought my buddy on board, and I said, let's play all originals. I was trying to be like a badass, but it worked out, and it was a good gig. But that's why I played at the venue. Shout out to them in Moorhead, Kentucky. It's a beautiful place. But that owner is like one of the first ones recently that said, "I want you to play all originals. I would rather you not play no covers." And I was like, "I'm getting to where I want to go," Yeah. So you know, I love Tyler Childers. I love Sturgill. Like I love Lumineers as well, but you know, I'm not into playing most of their songs. You know.
Yeah, man. Like even like the covers I do know, like I really like Chris Christopherson's like one of my favorite ever songwriters, and I do like
Yeah.
Chase the Feeling, and I'll never play Sunday Morning Coming Down because it's like if you want a deep cut, I'll do that shit.
Right. Yeah, I love that song as well. And I'll do a couple of Chris Christopherson songs in my sets, but they're kind of like not known as well. Like Best of All Possible Worlds and Kiss the World Goodbye. That's a couple of Chris. I'll throw in there every once in a while, but it's not the ones that most people know anyway. But yeah, I mean, there's you know, I don't want to be like an asshole or nothing, but I like you said, you understand. That's why we're brothers, because you understand that, like, you know, that's a beautiful thing when an artist takes control of it and is like, no, I'm giving you my art.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I'm known for that. Even like people that say that the covers that I do, they still don't even know what they are, so they probably thought I wrote them.
Nice. And with your originals, what was kind of the first song that you felt really gained traction in like your era at shows? Because the first video I ever saw of you was the Goodbye Mama one that I think JJ Waters shared.
Yeah.
Was that the first song that people kind of gravitated towards?
I mean, I'd say so. I think I wrote the first one that stands out that I'm actually halfway proud of when it was like 10 years ago. And a lot of my friends around here, they've heard me play that song, and nobody knows it now. But as far as recently, I would say, yeah, Goodbye Mama. Like, it's just everybody, like, people, you know, like, it starts off talking about all I need is a good bag of weeds, and like people who don't even smoke weed, they bob their head to it, and then so I'd say, yeah, that song. I mean, the last few shows I played in, like there's starting to be a crowd singing along, which is one of the best feelings in the world, you know. So I would say, yeah, that one, that was probably one of the ones it's stayed around, you know. It's not went nowhere, you know. I've got a lot that people know. I got a handful that people know, but I would say, yeah, Goodbye Mama. It's just something about that. I guess the catchy tune, or like the upbeat tune. I would say I would say that I would have to go with that one for sure.
Yeah, man. I remember, like, you shared a video the other day of you playing that live, and there was a dude singing along to it. I remember just grinning ear from ear, ear to ear, because I know how much that means to an artist when an original song's accepted that much. So I was like so stoked for you that, like, at that level, even, you know, one in however many is like singing along to one of your songs. That's like an incredible thing.
Yes, and that's something really new. That's something I've been kind of burning up the pavement and trying to play all over, you know, states around and stuff. But that's something kind of new. When you go out of town and you don't hardly know nobody and they're singing your songs, like, that's one of the best feelings I've ever felt in my life. You know, it just validates what I'm good at. You know, I've kind of turned my family upside down with all this, and like everything's so uncertain. Other than music, like music's kind of started climbing, but yeah, that kind of moments like that validates it all. It's like, you know, people are listening and they're starting to know your songs. You kind of don't fathom that until it happens. You know, it's kind of hard to understand until that happens.
And what is like the live situation like in Kentucky? Because there seems to be not necessarily a resurgence, but there seems to be a lot of artists of a great caliber at the moment that seem to be just like on the rise. Do you think that's helped? Like, are there a load of venues in Kentucky that you can play originals at?
Yeah, there is. I know that I'm starting to learn the ones that are that way, you know. But there is something special going on right here, man. Like, you know, I've played in Tennessee, Ohio, West Virginia, around, you know, there's a lot of great talent around there. Out west, I'm starting to get, you know, network out there and understand. But every single state somebody from Georgia just messaged me yesterday, wanting to set up a gig, and they're just like, whatever's going on in Kentucky right now, you know, there's something special. And I would have to give that to Chris Stapleton and then Sturgill Simpson and Tyler Childers, man. I think they kind of set the stage. They've all, you know, was nominated for Grammys and done things that you can't think of. With most of them stayed kind of independent, or, you know, wasn't on the radio that much, you know. And so I think that at first it kind of, when Tyler Childers come out, he just turned everything upside down. Like, he just inspired all of us, and he actually made a lot of people quit writing songs. I've heard so many people, which is kind of crazy, but they're like, he's so good, I'm quitting writing, which they're not getting what it's really about, you know. But yeah,
that's crazy, man.
It kind of got stagnant then. I'm telling you, like, I literally, like, I know like 100 so-called songwriters said that, and I was just like, dude, you don't understand. Like, You do it for you. You know,
Yeah.
you can't. It's not a. You
Like
can't compare your art to somebody else's.
like I know Towns Van Zandt exists and existed at some point, so you know
Right.
that is like
Right.
enough to never pick up a guitar again if you really want a
Right.
reason to.
Exactly.
That's a really
Exactly.
yeah.
I'm with you on that. 'Cause I'm a huge Town. Like I'm a sucker for Town. Anything Towns Van Zandt. So that's a good point. Like if I didn't, if you don't quit, he wasn't like the last one who did it, and then nobody ever did it again. You know, everybody's arts need it in this world. But yeah, Tyler did come out. You know, he did his song crafting is really a high level. And then it got stagnant around here, and like nobody, it was like everybody was gun shy or scared to come out with stuff. But then I remember thinking, I was like, I'm gonna take advantage of this because I was really, coming into my own. But then something happened through the pandemic, man, and there's just, I think we are all starting to inspire each other. So, but yeah, there's like a huge scene right now going on, and it's a beautiful thing, and I'm honored to be a part of it.
Yeah, man, because the Kentucky scene is what's inspired like me and Josh Bettis and folks in the UK to like start trying to actually carve things out. And I've talked to a fair few people from Minnesota, and the Kentucky scene is kind of spoken within such high regard because, you've got yourself, Walter Barr, Katie Meadows, Lance Rogers, Logan Halstead. You've got a stable of fucking phenomenal artists.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I've been having this conversation so much.
Yeah, but you've been obviously around and about for a while now. Has it been in like the last 3 to 5 years? It's just amped up, and has that impacted like venues and the actual fans? Because I think, everyone not necessarily wants to find the next Tyler Childers, but they want to find someone of that caliber. So have people like in the area taken advantage of the original music scene more?
Man, it's like happening so quick right now that it's hard to even kind of put into words because like I'm in the middle of it. But there is something I've just had like this conversation. I've had it so many times with so many people from overseas and all over the states. So we had, like I was telling you, me and my buddy was having some beers last night. We talked about this for hours about how like it's weird because we're right in the middle of it. Lance Rogers come up with me through the pandemic, and we're a little bit older than everybody else. Everybody's walks of life is different, but we're honored to be a part of it, but it's hard to talk about because it's kind of going on right now. But yeah, as far as the scene, like I don't know if it's the venues. I don't think it's the venues as much. There is some good venues, and there's good festival. Like they set up good festivals around here, and Kentucky's a beautiful, really green, and like it's a beautiful place, and it's a special place to me. But I think I don't know. It's just the artistic integrity of I think we're all kind of like rising each other up, and I'd have to give that to, like I said, Tyler Childers and Sturgill Simpson that kind of showed us that you don't have to go to Nashville and be on the radio to make some noise, And that's before like those guys, like I think everybody thought you have to go to Nashville, you have to play the game and be on, get into the big machine. And then when you see somebody that, that makes it so big and they have a huge following that did it their own way, I think that inspired me. I think it inspired a lot of other people, but yeah, I think we all it's just, I think that's when something like a renaissance or something happens when you just get a lot of like-minded people that lift each other up at the same time, instead of trying to bring each other down. And so but the venues are great too. There is a lot of venues you can play originals. There's a lot of good like open mics. There's probably a place every night you can go and play your songs original. So I guess to me that's something normal, but it might be special around here, but there's always a place, open mic there's a crowd there to listen to your originals if you want to play. So I guess that is it's all of that together makes it special, I believe.
Cool, man. And like I have no concept of space or distance when it comes to America, but with you guys in Kentucky, how far away are you from, say, like Katie or Walter or the other guys?
They're all just like an hour and a half, 2 hours, a couple hours away. But with Katie, she's right up on the border, over the border. Like maybe she might be 3 hours away, and then Walter's like 2 hours this way, or out west or east. So they're not too far away, But for whatever reason, like I feel like they're kind of in Kentucky because we've kind of adopted them for sure, So yeah.
With kind of like gigging, do you have like necessarily a plan where you go, I'm going to play, Kentucky and start to move to the states that like border it? Do you have kind of a touring plan or a gigging plan to reach new people and reach new audiences?
That's a good question. Yeah, I've kind of Kentucky wasn't as like accepted or receptive to me there for a while. I think it's just they seen me like try it one year and then quit, and then try it another year and quit. So I think they gave up on me around here, which I know to each his own or whatever. But so I've kind of started getting fans from out of states around, and it kind of brought my people around here on board or whatever. But yeah, I just was like right when stuff started opening up late last year a little bit, I would try to go to Ohio as much as I could, West Virginia or Tennessee. Now we're going out. Me and Lance Rogers, we're going out west in May. In May, we got a little west tour we're going to do. So, but yeah, that thought was in my head to try to go out and expand around. So. So yeah, we're going out west in May. We're going to end at the Mercury Lounge. It's a pretty cool. It's like a prestigious place. A lot of my favorites. Is
that Tulsa?
Yeah, Tulsa.
Yeah,
in Tulsa.
I got in one of the "Don't Let Your Cowboys Grow Up to Be Racist" tops from there.
Yeah. I'm hopefully they get some more of those. I dug that shirt. Yeah, that was a cool shirt. But yeah, I've been wanting to play there for a couple of years. And it's hard to get into places like that. But yeah, that I forgot to mention Indiana. There's a place called the Red Bicycle in Indiana. It's great. It's a great venue. I opened for the rock band Them Dirty Roses recently, and I got so much attention and like so much love, and people messaging me after the show. So just little moments like that, and it was one of the best nights of my life. But you don't think at the time, you don't think that you might get a handful of people that's going to follow you, and then you look up and go to Ohio and get that same man. You look up and you just got people from all over. That's so it's just. It was in my head to do that, but I just kind of just started doing it, and not even, just anywhere I could go. Josh Morningstar, to go back to him, he always said that play anywhere that'll have you. If you can get there, just play anywhere that'll have you. And I've really kind of stuck to my guns on that. The pay's getting better for sure, but somebody asked me yesterday, $100 gig, and I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I know everybody talks about the $100 gigs around here, like that's like the cliche thing, but but I just remember, I'm not I don't want to get big headed. I just want to keep putting my name out there, and I think that pays off with anything you do in life. If you can get there, you don't want to break yourself, but if you can get there, even if you come out negative, like if you had to pay your own gas to get there, that was my game plan, just to get out, and just get out and play anywhere that's going to happen. So I think there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, man, it's like swings and roundabouts, because sometimes a venue might only be able to offer you a certain amount, but that venue has a great crowd or a great reputation. So you do the math in your head to be like, that will balance out. Well, if it's a shit gig for $100, you're like, that's not worth it to me. And it's all about like learning which ones to say yes to, even if it is slightly different. Like I remember
that is so cool.
Like I drove up to Aberdeen, which is like 6 hours away, for 50 quid, because I'd be opening for a Pee Wee Moore, like Cecil Allen Moore, and I was like, okay, yeah, that'd be fun as fuck. Like, let's do it, because especially in the UK, we don't have that many country music gigs, so I'm always willing to try.
Okay.
Further, I remember,
cool. Yeah.
Like Jason Eady came over and he only played London, and I really wanted the support slot, and I messaged the promoter, and the promoter had actually been recommended me from someone. And he was like, I didn't think you'd drive it because it was like 4 hours away. And I was like, I'll fucking drive it down, like to do that type of gig and to get that type of.
Yeah, Jason Eady, I'm a big fan of his too. Yeah, that's great. And you see, you get it. Now I will say I have to talk shit about a lot of people around here. Like they're quick to like say no. In my head I'm thinking, see, that's what I guess that's the difference of us, because. I'm trying to build something, and that's an investment. Like Jason, he's even big. He's big over here. I'm sure y'all. He's got a following over there. But I would have done the same thing. I would have drove 4 hours to open for him or played with him. For free. But yeah, you're just putting an investment in your art and your what you're trying to build. That's some of those shows, some of the biggest shows. I kind of took it for hardly nothing. They said the budget's not there, but you could open for it. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And it paid off. It definitely paid off. So a lot of people kind of get spoiled pretty quick. They're like, it don't pay, or it's you got to drive, and I'm always going to be the one that's just going to get in the car and just and head and go and just see what happens, you know.
Yeah, definitely, man. Because like a pub gig can pay well, but everyone's drunk, no one's paying attention. But if you go do a gig for like
Sure.
50 quid or something, and you know you find like 10 people who give a shit and buy like £100 worth of merch, and then fucking share all your shit on social media, that's so much more invaluable than, you know, being screamed over by drunk dudes.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And I think the more you do this, the more you'll learn that. You know, like if you can get a listening room. I would rather do that for damn near nothing than to have, you know, like you said, to make $300 or $400 or two, whatever they're paying around here, and just a bunch of rowdy people that's not listening, that's gonna ask for covers, wants you to play Freebird and stuff.
Yeah, but with your touring and your book, are you still booking everything yourself? Are you booking all the dates and reaching out to venues?
Yeah, so Becky Owens, she's like a sister to me. She come on board. She started Counterculture Productions, and she's been helping me a lot. And with so like we kind of network together. She's not, we don't say she's my manager or anything, but she promotes her. She comes to my shows and helps me and promotes me and gets everything going and might help me sell merch or whatever. And then she'll put her business name in there. You know, she'll network with her business as well. So it's kind of been a good partnership. But yeah, for the 95% of the shows I've done in the last year, I've booked them all myself. I've just kind of bugged the shit out of people, and they didn't work at first, but then like that Goodbye Mama started coming out, and I had some videos that people actually liked and a few numbers on there, so then that helped. But yeah, luckily, like a lot of people have trouble booking, but I've just kind of been persistent about it and bugging the hell out of venues. But a lot of I've been getting way bigger gigs, and other people's been helping me with that. But yeah, it's just kind of like, you know, it's like the wild west. You know, there's not really like no one set way to do it. You know, you just kind of get out there, and it's funny how a person can put, if they really believe something and they put their mind to something and you know, kind of grow a chip on their shoulder where they're serious and they got something to prove. Like it's, man, like anything can happen. I believe anything can happen if I see you know, if you or one of my friends tell me that they're going after something, whatever it may be, it might be the most craziest thing in the world, but if they got that look in their eye, I'm not a hater. Like a lot of people just like, oh, you're crazy, you need to keep your job and, you know, do this and do that. But life is so short, man, and I don't take life as near as serious as I used to. So yeah, there's something to be said about like pounding the pavement and just going after something, and you know, and it just kind of works out. The universe kind of pays you back for it, you know.
Yeah, man, definitely. I think like when you have a vision and you have like a drive to it, like you can dream as much as you want, but you also have to put all the work in, which is what you've done, and it's what like I've done with all like the stuff I've been doing. But it is, I don't know. I love all you're doing. But I don't know if it's like a lot of people say out of love or a place of like caring, where they're like, don't do that because you need to be safe, you need to have a job, you need to do that, and they don't realize that that's probably the worst thing they can say. Someone like you need to have that person to go, fuck it, do it. Like, what's the worst that can happen? Yes. Because in this day and age, what is the worst that can happen if you follow your dream?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you'd be left with a lot of regrets as an old man. Maybe if you're lucky to be an old man, that's the worst. That's the worst thing that can happen. You know, like if you don't go after it, like, you know, sitting there on your deathbed with a bunch of regrets of I shoulda, woulda, coulda. But you know, I come from a family, like I love both sides of my family, and I think there was a lot of talented people in my family, but nobody was ever dared to dream, you know. And not just my family, but a lot of my friends' families, and like I've not known many people that was that brave to go off and try to do the impossible, you know. So I think that was always in the back of my head growing up, and I always felt like, you know, I knew I wasn't a 9-to-5 type of guy. I tried to fake it for as long as possible, you know. But yeah, there's I think just like seeing my nieces and nephews and my children, and there's nobody in our family from generation after generation that ever dared to do anything great like that. And so I think that I took all that into consideration, and a lot of mushrooms and a lot of thinking and a lot of just finding, you know, looking for answers, reading the old philosophers, you know, I was just looking for some answers in life, and it brought me right back to music, you know, because I quit there for a little bit, but it all circled right around to music. So
was there any, like, obviously seeing your family and things, was there a defining perspective or a defining moment that you were like, I need to take this with all hands. Obviously, with like mushroom trips are so beneficial, and everyone should do one at least
Yeah, for sure.
a couple of times in their life. But was there
Yeah.
like a time where you were like, I just need to do this now?
Yeah, it all kind of was like, because like I said, I quit. I had writer's block forever. I was telling you, I always have words, but there was a time like a year or a year and a half that I had writer's block, and then I tried to start my business with my buddy, and then my grandmother passed, and me and her was real close, and just life was kind of just changing. So I started looking for answers, and I still decided that I wasn't doing music. I hardly ever picked the guitar up, and this wasn't that long ago, maybe like a year and a half, 2 years ago. But I just did a lot of reading and like a lot of studying the greats, and something, yeah, it all like I was coming full circle in my life, not even thinking about music. And right when like I was feeling confident in who I was becoming, and just I felt wiser, and it just took me right back to music. But yeah, there was a moment, like I said, I quit my job, so I was definitely serious about it. I was making decent money, and I remember telling my mom and my sister and my dad that, and they thought I was crazy. Like they didn't even say you're crazy. They just like they was speechless. There was no answer at all on the other end, and that really pissed me off, But now it don't. It just I realized that it is kind of, it's hard to fathom. It's hard to take in. Like when you're like, you got they're used to me working and being this certain person, and then all of a sudden I'm telling everybody. I told my friend I quit my job. I told my family that. I was like, look, I'm going to go chase this music thing, and I'm going to do it serious this time. And they've already seen me try it a couple times before, so But I was like, I'll give myself about a couple years before I can maybe start making decent money. And it's actually happened way quicker than I was expecting. But yeah, there was something that, as far as the day, I don't know if it was an exact moment. Now there was actually there was a moment that I went out with I was doing that business with my buddy, working my ass off. I was leaving, and it was dark, and I was getting home and it was dark, and there was like a little birthday party my cousin had, and there was all of my nieces and nephews. And I looked around, and I was like, I don't ever see these kids. And I was trying to do that construction business or whatever. And I was already thinking about music. And I think that was the defining factor. I was like, I want to give all the young people in my family somebody that they can at least say, my uncle or whoever tried to get out there and do the impossible, So that sticks in my head a lot, being at that birthday party and seeing all my kids and nieces and nephews. I ain't seen them in forever. And I was like, you know what? And I was already contemplating music again. So there was a couple moments now that I think about it. I haven't really thought about it in a while, but yeah, there was maybe not one exact day, but there was a couple weeks, about maybe a month in there where I was just really thinking about doing the impossible. And then the words started coming back to me, and and it's fun. It was fun again. So yeah, man, I think that's that's my story as far as like really taking it serious and being like, I'm not putting my art in anybody's hand anymore. I'm not looking for validation. You want everybody to love what you do, but one person, artists are sensitive, and one person could like crush your soul with saying something, and they don't know that, like people. That's why I'm real picky about. You're not even the bullshit they play on the radio. I can't stand it. It makes my stomach turn between me and you. But I'm never gonna I'm not gonna shit on nobody's art. There's a platform for everybody out there. But yeah, I just it's a beautiful thing when somebody can just decide that they're going to do something and actually go do it. And I think a lot of people feed off of that,
Yeah, man, it's definitely inspiring. Like I remember, like before I started getting into this seriously, I was in a job that I fucking hated, and I was like coming home every day just miserable to the point of like tears. I was just like, what the fuck am I doing? I was just sat there one day on my lunch, and some article popped up about it was like the 3 new country musicians saving country music, and it was Stapleton, Sturgill, and Isbell, and I think it was like 2015, 2016, and I was like, oh shit. And you kind of see people circumvent the industry and do what they want. And at that time, I'd already, was listening to a shit ton of like blues and Johnny Cash and Christopherson and just like all that stuff. And I was like, why the fuck wouldn't like, and it was like, and everything started forming in my head. I'm like, why the fuck wouldn't I do this? Because the other option is me being miserable for the rest of my fucking life.
Right. Yeah, man, I remember that article, and that article inspired me too. I remember the three big dogs. What I was gonna say, but yeah, that's For sure. I can tell, look at you now. You got road country and like, you're doing the podcast, you're playing your music, you seem happy and at peace. There's a peace when you start chasing that, there's like a peace from within that comes that you never felt before until you start actually going after that,
Yeah, man.
So,
and like, I don't know about you, but I got like asked stuff where it was like, they'd be like, what are you up to on the weekend? I'm like, I'm doing a gig Friday, the gig Saturday, gig Sunday, come home Monday, gig Tuesday. And they were like, why? Like, are you okay? Are you going to rest at any point? Like, why would you do that? And I'm like, why wouldn't I do that? It's the thing I love to do the most in the world.
right.
Like, it's not a
Right,
chore
man.
for me to have to drive like however many hours to do a gig. I will do that every goddamn day. It's a chore for me to have to come into a 9 to 5 every goddamn day.
Fuck yeah, dude. You preach it, brother. For sure, man. Like exactly like, anytime I ever like, I'm like, fuck, I don't get a lot of sleep, or I'm going and going and going, but driving down the road to another town, meeting new faces, and like that feels like you're actually living, like there's a beauty to that. And it can get a little rugged at times, but I always remember the back of my head, like you said, like, why not? Would I rather be at that shitty job in tears, like you said, because I've been there many times at jobs like that. So like people, a lot of people are never going to get it and understand that, and that's okay,
I also think a lot of it is you see the mainstream way that music's presented, and you see that like the big way for people, or the main way that people get famous, is like the Adele or the Ed Sheeran way, which is like they're dead small for a minute and then they blow up and they're doing stadiums, and people think it's like a feast or famine situation for musicians, not knowing you can make a living and a career, with a few thousand people knowing your name. As long as enough people give a shit, you don't have to be selling out stadiums. I remember a lot of people kind of view success as being like on The Voice or like that type of thing. And there's so many different avenues. And for independent musicians, that's what I really dig about yourself in the Kentucky scene, is it's independent musicians helping each other to create a scene and support themselves, which is an invaluable thing for the world to see, I think.
For sure, man. You said it. You said a mouthful there. Like, everybody thinks that doesn't know that you gotta go. Like, I still get like almost every other day, go to The Voice, go to The Voice, go to American Idol and shit, And it used to piss me off, but now I get it. Like, I told one of my mom's friends said that the other day, and I know it's a compliment. Like, it's a odd compliment to me, but I told her, I said, I've already made it. Like, I'm out here playing. I'm making my livelihood off of music, and of course, it's not near as much as I was making, but it's still, there's a beauty to that. And I told her, I was like, I've already made it. So, I was kind of being a smart ass, which I was being truthful too, but yeah, everybody that doesn't know thinks that you have to, the big machine in Nashville, or like play stadiums, but I've been finding that out. There's ways to make money. Like, you can still make a pretty good living, with merch and just finding ways and networking and just, and the gigs slowly get a little bit more and more. But yeah, I'm not in it for the money. Like, I'm not a man of money anyway. So like that's never gonna run me. So like, I feel like I've already made it. Like, I've been trying to do what I'm doing now for the last 5 years, and I've never had no luck at it. So like, but yeah, there's a beauty to that, man. Just people that's out there, like you said, independent, and like we're all supporting each other, and we're making shit happen. We're not, the majority of us, or maybe none of us, are ever going to get on that big stage, and that's okay with me. I don't think I would be good on that, in that platform anyway. I don't know, but yeah, you can definitely make a good living being an independent artist.
Is there any like career goals that you like wanted to take off that you have? Like, obviously you've like got the Mercury Lounge like coming up and stuff. Is there anything been in your mind that's been like wild enough to think about? Because I know like my Wembley Stadium moment is there's a venue in Manchester called the Ritz, and that's where I've seen like every band. Like, I don't give a fuck about playing Wembley. My goal is to play there. Right. Is there anything that in your head?
Oh yeah. Exactly, dude. Like, I'm from Lexington, Kentucky, and there's Rupp Arena. Like, I don't think I'll probably never be in there, but like, there's Manchester Music. I've kind of like crushed all of them. I need to go back and like set some new goals, because like this shit's happened so fast. Like the Mercury Lounge, Red Bicycle, those venues, I try to reach out to them, and that's those, I tell you, I reach out to all the venues and try to set up stuff, but you can't do that to those type of venues. You gotta be like a national act, and you have to be this certain level, So I remember reaching out to the Red Bicycle at the early on in the pandemic last year, and it's in Indiana, and it's like an 1830 building. It's a pretty venue. And then fast forward like a month ago, I played it, and it was a sold out show. and it was kind of overwhelming and surreal when I stood up there and started playing my first chord. I was like, this ain't the pub where everybody's drunk and shit. Like, this is something real, And with Mercury Lounge, like places like that. But I played Manchester Music Hall. It's in Lexington. And Arlo McKinley, are you familiar with Arlo? He's big around here. He was playing the Borough right across the street, So yeah, so like I've kind of crushed everything. I didn't think it was going to be this fast. So like I need to go back and like reassess my goals and set some higher ones. But yeah, like I'm gigs are just, when you, like I say, when there's something about when you're really serious about getting out there and pounding that pavement, it's the universe just has been paying me back tenfold. And so like a Manchester Music Hall and like setting up a tour to go out west and playing in different states and getting people actually singing my songs. Like all those have been dreams of mine. And it's just, it's coming to light, which is, I'm like a kid in a candy store.
That's so cool, man. Like, I'm so excited to finally get back gigging. I think everything's meant to open up in the UK around June, July. And I'm okay. I'm kind of gonna be saying to my partner, I'm like, I've been in since fucking March. I'm not coming back for a while because I'm so excited to get back on like the road and start gigging.
Right. Yeah, hell yeah. My buddy, he set up like a tour because stuff's starting to really open up now, with the vaccines and stuff. So I think he just set up a tour all the way out to like December. So he's like, he ain't coming back. He's not coming back to the end of the year. But yeah, I don't blame you, man. Like, I'm sure how was it for you, as far as like, was there like a lot of depression and stuff going around like in your music friends and stuff, or? Yeah,
it's been hard. Like a lot of people have just been like not motivated in any way. And I think that it's hard when, if a musician has a mindset that the only thing they can do is live shows. If live shows get taken away from them, they're like, well, what the fuck have I got? But I've been kind of lucky in, like, I've always enjoyed looking at where gaps in, like, the market are. Like, I have, like, a marketing sense of what to do. And I was going to start this podcast. Like, I had the idea for it in 2019. I was like, I'm going to do this, like, because I want to. And then when the pandemic hit, I was like, oh shit, I've got this to just keep on going with. Obviously I released a record during the pandemic and things, but I had those goals and like tasks to just keep everything grinding. And I think if a lot of people would just sat there being like, well, I'm not really bothered to write a song because I don't have anywhere to play it to. So a lot of people, I think, fell into that spiral of what's the point at the moment. And it has been rampant.
For sure.
Has that been affecting like your scene as well?
Yeah, that's funny. You said, go back to my buddy, me and Lance Rogers last night. We were sitting there having some beers and we talked about all this shit we're talking about today. It was a great conversation, but we talked about that. Like we was kind of disheartened by like big names didn't get on there and just like, lift the people up, lift all their fans up that got them to the dance and just get on there and do like some shitty video, like some live, not even a whole live session or nothing, just a song, like people fed off that. So, but then I get it. Like I was kind of bitter about that. Like how a lot of bigger names that now they've already made it and they just come up MIA and nowhere to be found. But then I start thinking, like you said, they was touring and making all that money and they was living their dream, and all of a sudden it just gets taken away. And it probably put a lot of, like you said, they just kind of went into hiding and in a spiral. But I guess, like I said, there's a handful, like me and Lance, we didn't really have didn't build a following just yet. So we was able to get out there a little bit more. Because if I had a following at the time now, I probably couldn't have done it. But if I had a following, you can't be liable. It's just bad business to try to do stuff in a pandemic. But we were just out there on our own, nobody coming. So we put out a lot of, there was a handful of people that I remember putting out a lot of music. Every time I'd write one, I would just try to put it. And then I did a little Facebook show on at the beginning of the pandemic. So, I was playing a lot, but I understand the majority of artists around here kind of did that. They went into a spiral and they're like, what's the nihilistic and like, what's the use? And their livelihood was taken away. So I understand that too, man. But yeah, it's definitely like, it shook up everybody, a lot of depression and a lot of things a lot of darker things was happening, but like, hopefully everything's getting going again.
Yeah, man, I think it goes back to the same people who, like, when Tyler hit the scene and people started giving up, it's like, if you aren't gonna weather this and like try to carry on, like, you don't really want it that much anyway. Like, there's nothing in the world that would make me stop this.
Dude, you get it. Yeah, that's what I told a lot of people when I tell that story, because I was just telling somebody else that, like, literally, like, it felt like 100 different songwriters just like, okay, I give up. And I'm like, okay, well, you wasn't a real one. You don't really have that in you then, no offense, but you're half-assing it, and you probably shouldn't. I remember he did make me think, like, I remember him thinking, he made me think a couple times, like, I got work to do, I need to go within even more and cut off the fat to some songs and stuff. But I'm like you, I never once was like, if I was going to do that, then it would be after listening to Townes Van Zandt, like you said earlier.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. If you wanted to be a songwriter and took like John Prine's first record and Townes' first record and listened to them, and you could give up, because like what can be said of those things, but you have to have like your own voice and your own spin on it, and that's what I don't get when like if someone gave up from just that. And it's the same thing with the pandemic. It's like it's an obstacle, but it's no more of an obstacle than a fucking empty bar room that you play into. Just get it done.
Exactly, man. And that's why we would get along if we was hanging out, man. Because you get that it takes that certain type of strength inside to get it. Like nothing's gonna stop me from doing this until the day I die. That's why you started the podcast in the pandemic. You started that this past year, right?
Yeah, man. The first episode came out in March last year. I'd started recording in February, and then I had enough of a backlog that weathered me through the initial lockdown, and then I started reaching out to people online and stuff.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, we kind of have that in common. Where in a pandemic, we're starting to be innovative and do new shit. So like maybe we're just crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just like I talked to my partner about it, and it's just not an option to not do it. It's not an option to
no, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. But
exactly. It's simply cool.
Yeah. With like you brought out the record featuring What It Used to Be. Was that December? Was that? I can't remember the exact.
November.
What was the reaction like to that when it came out? Because obviously you released it during the pandemic. Like was
right? Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of it was kind of weird releasing music in a pandemic, but I got a lot of. That's the first one I've actually ever. I have an old one on Bandcamp that I love the songs on there, but me and my buddy did it, and it makes me cringe sometimes. We just threw it together in his basement, but even this one, we kind of threw this one together pretty quick. It was a pandemic, and it was early on in the pandemic. I think we made it in a couple months prior to that, but yeah, I mean, it's a lot of people, it's raw, and it's like singer songwriter. Hopefully I'll be doing another one later on this year with a little bit more full production. Yeah, hopefully a little bit more full production and an LP instead of an EP. But yeah, I get a lot of people dug it, and I've had a few people reach out and they've gotten several copies. But yeah, it was kind of weird putting music out in a pandemic. But I think that's exactly what a pandemic needs is art, and putting stuff out like that.
Yeah, man. Kind of what was your approach to the featuring What It Used to Be like with that writing? Like I remember the Cadillac and Butterflies, the opening line for that's just brutal, and it's so like poignant and it just grips you. Like, was there an approach to like the 7 songs that went onto that record?
There wasn't. I didn't have there wasn't a plan of like a CD, like the whole CD being kind of like thought out with as far as they have something in common. I do want to do one of those, like the Redheaded Stranger CD, like the Willie Nelson CD, Redheaded Stranger. It tells like a whole story within the CD, and that's one of my goals. Speaking of goals, is to I would like to do a CD so good like that they make a movie on it instead of they make the movie first and then you make the soundtrack. I would like to make something so good on a CD that it's inspires somebody to possibly think about making a movie. But with those songs, I just went through. I was writing so many damn songs at that time, and I just went through and I was like, it's so hard to pick, narrow the songs down to which ones you want. I still second guess it. I think we all can relate to that whenever you're picking the songs to put on a record. But yeah, with those, I think I picked the ones that I took the most time on and I felt that creative, whatever it feels like it's coming from, another place. Sometimes like you don't even really remember writing it, I was getting in zones on those. Most of those songs, I would just get into like these zones, and it kind of just creates itself. And you wake up the next day, it's like, fuck, did I write that? Like I don't even remember really. It's something coming otherworldly. But yeah, with that Cadillac and Butterflies, like I was reading a lot of Charles Bukowski, man. He's one of my favorite poets and short story. And I just I know he's brutal at times, and a lot of people don't like him. But yeah, I think he just has a way of with the human dialogue. And I was reading so much of his shit, and like that whole song is every verse it's pretty much has something to do with him in there. You know, I was he was helping me. He helped me with writing so much that I wanted to give an ode to him or give a nod to him. And, yeah. So like that. So that. But yeah, I decided to pick the songs that I took the most time on, I think, and that meant the most to me.
And what's it been like to co-write? Because I know you've been working with Lance, and I listened to Geraldine with you and Logan. What's it been like to approach like those writers and create those type of songs?
That's a good question. I don't consider myself a songwriter. It's just something I've never done before. So the few that I have done, like it really I learned a lot about it. With that Geraldine, I went to West Virginia to Walter DeBar's. Me and Walter and Logan hung out for a day, and I had they took me around and showed me the best time, man. And then they wrote a song right there in front of me, and they let me be a part of it. And it was it's kind of like a soft grunge rock. It was a good song, man, and I was honored to be a part of that. So, but then I had that song Geraldine in my head. I had it like halfway finished. And I was like, well, boys, since y'all let me be a part of that, if y'all want to be a part of this song. So I just started playing for it. And then Logan started right away. He wrote the verse and the bridge, and then Walter finished it with that last part. So that just kind of happened organically. Like we didn't really plan it. I just kind of was I figured I was going to go home and finish the song that next day, because I had half of it finished. But so that just kind of happened organically. And then Lance, we just wrote our first one last week. We wake up and it's like 10 o'clock in the morning, and he's like, I'm writing this song, man. I think it's a good one. And we've tried a couple times before, but nothing come about it. And I threw a verse in there real quick. So that kind of was organic, just out of nowhere. And then I wrote Baby Blue Lies with my friend Lissa out of Alabama. And that kind of like, it's kind of like this weird thing that happens. I'm not one like, in Nashville, they'll have like at noon or at 1 p.m. they got to write. And then at 2:30 they'll have a write. And then at 4 o'clock they have a write. And that's definitely not me, So it's just something. I'm the type that has something special has to be there like that. Just both, we're both inspired at the same time. But I don't know. I look forward to doing more writings, but I don't consider myself a co-writer. It still feels weird to me, because I like to, like when I'm writing songs, I like to go into this place that I feel weird. It's like I like to be alone, to be honest with you, like in solitude and just start thinking and like being vulnerable by myself. It's easier than doing that with somebody else. But yeah, I think that Geraldine song come out pretty good. I play that at almost every show, and the handful, Wine in a Barrel, I wrote with my trucking buddy Kobe Langham. I think that's the 4 songs that I've co-wrote. I wrote a few more with people, but that's the ones that I actually play at gigs, and they're all special. It don't feel like you're sat down at a certain time and you wrote something. It was just something special happened at that moment, and so yeah.
Cool, man. Well, like, you've got a record coming up, like you working on that. Is that something you've got the songs written for already? Like, is Memphis to Atlanta a new one? Because I saw that video on WB's showed the other.
Yeah, that's a. Did you say that was if that's going to be on the record or not? Or
yeah, is that going to be on the new one or?
I don't know. Would you recommend it? I got like so many songs. Okay, for sure. Yeah,
the finger picking part, like the quick intro, and then the stabs of the chorus. Again, it's
right.
You have such an undeniable groove that I don't hear in anyone else, and that
cool,
song
man.
is the same type of groove and the type of like swagger that I think encapsulates like your sound without it being
cool. I think so
cliched.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I appreciate that so much. Like the way you actually took the time to describe that, and it meant something to me. And just said you like the song, which that's cool too. But yeah, that I think that does kind of sum up what I am, and that's like the first song that I actually started picking a lot more. Like I got a weird style of picking. I've always been a thumb picker. I cannot hold on to a pick to save my life. But that song, I kind of put that intro in there. It's kind of like country mixed with a little blue. Like it's kind of what that song is. Kind of what I am. It's a little bit all over the place. But and I did take a lot of. I was listening to a lot of country blues when I come up with that. But yeah, I think that since you mentioned that one, I probably will put that one on there.
Cool, man. What's the kind of plans for the rest of the year? Obviously, you've got a West tour, you've got the record and stuff. Are you having any plans to come over to the UK or Europe?
Yeah, that's actually, speaking of a goal, I did conquer the majority of goals because I wasn't, now I got to go back and make some bigger ones. But I always said like that. One of my ultimate goals is to come out to go to do a European tour. Like I just see like all my favorites have do it, and they always talk great about it and like some of the best moments of their life. So yeah, man, maybe we could get something set up. But yeah, that's definitely. I might be going to Canada in a couple months to try to play a couple shows up there, but it's kind of still close, But yeah, that's definitely a big time goal of mine is to coming out to Europe and doing a tour out there. But yeah, it's all kind of like coming into place. I'm not good with time. Like I kind of keep my options open. I'm horrible with time and shit. So all of this is just kind of coming organically together. So I'm just going to keep rolling this wave, rolling with the wave, and hopefully I can stay busy, and everything opens back up and everything's normal again.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, we're over the hour mark and I don't want to keep you too long for the rest of the day, but I can't thank you enough for sitting down with me, man. Like, I have such an envy of what you guys are doing because, like, I saw you and Katie were talking about staying up just trading town songs and stuff, and I was like, why the fuck does my friend who plays a guitar live 4 hours away from me?
Right. Real quick, I got 2 questions for you before you get off there. Did you ever think about coming over to the US when everything opens back up?
It's the dream to come to the US. Like at the moment, what I'm kind of stuck with is obviously, about Brexit, where the UK shot itself in the foot and left the European Union. So that means that touring over into Europe now might be as costly as going to the States. Because what used to happen was I'd literally just get in a van and drive there and then just gig. No, I never got stopped at a border, never got stopped on the ferry, and it cost me like 200 quid to get there. And I've got a camper van, so I just sleep in that. So I don't really care about like lodging or anything. So if visas and things come into play of that, then I will be like weighing it up to be like, if it costs me $3,000 to go to Europe and it costs me $4,000 to go to the States, I'll go to the States because I've never been.
Right. Well, we have to get you over here at some point to do. We'll set up some shows and stuff just for the experience, if anything, And then the last question I had: are you a Darren Till fan? Your accent reminds me of him. I know he's an MMA fighter over there, Darren Till.
No, I've not heard of Darren Till. Is he?
He's like an MMA. I follow him on Instagram, and he's a freaking character, man. Yeah. But y'all's accent are the same. Is it Liverpool?
Yeah, so I live over the water from Liverpool, so I'm not super Scouse. But if people don't know where I'm from, they assume I am Scouse. Yeah. But then people from Liverpool just say I don't have that accent. What, Darren Till? British mixed martial arts.
No, you definitely have it, dude. Yeah. You definitely have that certain type. It's not your average English accent, which is it's cool as hell. People love it over here.
Yeah, no, I've just Googled Darren Till. He is from Liverpool, so yeah, he is close to me.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I figured you was around from Liverpool because I hear him talking on Instagram all the time. He's a fucking character, but yeah, he has that same type of sound,
Yeah.
Which is cool as hell.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, maybe we can set up something. You can come over here and then I can get over there at some point.
100%, man. If you need any help getting over here, like anything I can do to help, that definitely. And fuck the shows. I want to hang out with you and trip shrooms and just fucking play guitar for a while.
Hey, it's open anytime around here, brother.
And that was, of course, James Reed on episode 33 of Into the Van, Into the Bag. Thank you so much for listening. I had an absolute blast with this. Please check out James Reed. He's touring all over the States now. He's going to be in Kentucky, and just follow his Facebook page for all those dates. Keep an eye out for mine and Luke Hendrickson's UK tour across April and May next year of 2022. We can't fucking wait to do it. We hope to see you there. Keep supporting the things you love, guys. Keep doing what you're doing, and have a good day. Peace.